Hello and welcome to Jessie Bear Book Club. Today we are talking about the Netflix 2017 miniseries Godless. The show is set in the American 1880s West, in a fictional town called Belle in New Mexico, which is inhabited almost entirely by women after a large-scale mining disaster. An outlaw called Roy Goode arrives in Belle after having robbed his fellow cowboy thugs. But Roy is being pursued, of course, by his former gangmates, and total havoc ensues. There are 7 episodes in the series, ranging from 40 minutes to an hour and a half, and I watched the entire series over the course of a week. I had this show on my Netflix to watch list for ages, but I kept putting off watching it because I thought it was going to be a little bit rapey, which it is, so be warned. Also, this video contains spoilers. The first episode really sets the scene with great cinematography, and the story is immediately apparent, and you fall in love with the character of Alice Fletcher, who is played by Michelle Doherty. I had never seen Michelle act before, though I do know she was in Downton Abbey. In this role, she really looked the part of the hardened, isolated frontierswoman. I think she encapsulated everything about the role. Alice takes in the injured Roy Goode, who is on the run from the law, and the Griffin gang, who he used to be a part of. Roy is played by Jack O'Connell, who I had never seen in anything else apart from Skins. He is a very good actor, even though this role is quite nothingy. Roy Goode, in my opinion, is quite one-dimensional. The show tried to develop the character of Roy Goode using flashbacks, but it was done in a dream sequence with muted colours, and it jumped around quite a bit, so it didn't really work in my opinion. And the flashbacks mainly focused on his time with his brother and in the orphanage. I would have liked to have seen more of Roy during his time in the Griffin gang. We also have a side story where Alice teaches Roy to read, so he can finally read a letter from his brother he has been holding on to unopened for years. I really cannot see why Roy didn't simply get someone to read him the letter. Trusting Alice enough to read him the letter would have built on their growing intimacy, but maybe I'm just nitpicking. We also get to meet the sheriff, Bill McNew, who is played by Scoot Minari, who is kind of superfluous to the plot. He has a storyline about going blind and having a dead wife, but nothing really comes of either. He could have done with a lot more fleshing out and character development. And the Native American ghost who is helping Bill when he goes after the Griffin gang was just cliché and unneeded. They should have cut that out in the edit. It added nothing to the storyline. They should have just fleshed out the Vision and Paramount storyline, and it would have made Bill a far more compelling character. Then there is the Griffin gang, the plot of the train heist going wrong, which is classic Wild West spaghetti western style, and I immediately was invested in the gang and every member of it, and as they made their way slowly towards the town, building suspense, the fact that we, the viewer, knew that that town was made up entirely of women was extremely interesting and very modern. For anybody who doesn't know, I grew up watching classic westerns with my father, and I have an enduring love for the genre, especially the evil cowboy gang. I was always rooting for the guy with the black hat. The Griffin gang is of course led by Frank Griffin, who is played by Jeff Daniels, who I did not recognise at all as Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. He is really amazing in this role, and does a great job of being damaged and sinister at the same time. I was not expecting him to have his arm amputated in the first 10 minutes of the first episode, but it was really good and it drew you in. I honestly think Jeff Daniels carried a lot of the show on his back, because his performance is amazing. He makes the filler episodes interesting, and his monologues about religion make up for all the plots that don't go anywhere. We also find out early in the series that Frank Griffin was one of the children stolen from the massacre outside Salt Lake City, known as the Mountains Meadow Massacre, which explains in some small part why he is so messed up. He was then adopted by a polygamist family and still believes in Mormonism and polygamy. I loved the history reference, because I have often wondered what happened to all those children after that horrible incident. As the show progresses, we find out a little bit more about the residents of Belle, The women are in the process of selling their mine, and they are getting a bad deal due to being considered the weaker sex, and it is infuriating the mayor's widow, Mary Agnes, who is played by Merritt Weaver. She is another hardened frontierswoman, but definitely a town dweller and a community builder, unlike Alice Fletcher, who is a happy loner. We also get to know Whitey, the sheriff's deputy, as the show progresses, who is played by Thomas Brodie-Sangster, who is brilliant in everything he is in. I really rooted for Whitey the whole way through, and I was devastated when he was shot at the end. I really wanted him to get his girl and ride off into the sunset. Whitey was definitely up there with my favourite characters. Another favourite character of mine was the town whore, Callie Dunn, who is played by Tess Fraser, who is just pretty and brilliant and has the best one-liners, especially when she is introducing herself. And she says, "I used to be the town whore. I guess I just fell into the teaching after the old school mom died." I also love how she brilliantly validates her choice of profession by saying, "There's 100 words for whore, but only one word for doctor or lawyer." I wish I had some of that sass when introducing myself. She was definitely an underused character. But this is still a Netflix show, however, so of course everyone is having sex with everyone else, and there are sex scenes that go on for way too long and add nothing to the plot. They are just filler. In fact, the 4th and 5th episodes are just interpersonal relationships that go nowhere and extended sex scenes. There are also loads of scenes of Roy Goode taming pretty horses, which I much prefer to watching Callie and Mary Agnes fight. There is also a great song called The Girls of Belle, which the women sing, which reminds me of the song from Beowulf, and I am going to leave a link in the description to the song on YouTube because it is amazing. I have told you guys on this channel many times before how much I love a well-written villain, and Frank Griffin is great, but so are his apprentices, the Devlin twins, who are played by Russell Dennis Lewis and Matthew Dennis Lewis. We get some background about the twins in episode 6, where we discover they killed their entire family, which is very revealing about who they really are. I wish we had had a little bit more of the Devlin twins because they were so evil. I was just living for it. There is also a storyline about a runaway German heiress called Martha, which is pointless. It adds nothing to the plot, apart from getting to see Christine Schienendahl, I think that's how you pronounce her name, naked. And I'm not complaining about getting to see her naked. She's beautiful, but it wasn't needed. Episode 6 ends with Roy Goode finally reading his letter from his brother and riding off into the sunset to find him, just as Frank Griffin rides up to La Belle. Episode 6 ends with this full colour flashback to the day the mine collapsed, killing all the men in La Belle, which is amazing and leaves you with this powerful sense of dread as we move into the final episode and the big showdown. The climax of the entire show is the big Hollywood-style gunfight right at the end, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire way through this, especially when one of the Devlin twins rides his horse up onto the roof of the hotel. Oh man, I thought I was gonna scream. It was so good. But I don't want to give too much away, just go and watch it. There then is a big showdown between Roy and Frank, which is really poetic, and a good change of pace from the gun battle because it's very slow, and then we get Roy riding off to California and his brother. And he is riding, and there's beautiful scenery, and then he's riding, and then you get to see the sea, which is kind of cool, but we never get to meet Roy's brother, which I was really irritated about. I was like, I just want to see him. I just want to see him come out of his house. They don't have to hug or talk. I just want to see him, and then it's the end, and Roy gets his happy ending. That's what I want, and we don't get it. Back in La Belle, they bury all their dead, and the preacher arrives, and there's been this ongoing gag about the preacher never coming, and he arrives just at the end of the show, which is kind of funny, I guess. So that was my review of Godless. Godless got 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb and 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. I give Godless 7 out of 10. It is very good western with some modern twists. The only problem is episode 4 and 5 feel like filler, and there are too many great characters that don't get enough screen time. If you like this review, please leave a comment letting me know who your favourite character was. Mine was definitely Callie Dunn. And be sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any more of my historical fiction reviews. You can also follow me on Instagram at Lady Jessica Riddell and on Twitter at Jessie Book Club. I also have started using Twitch, and I'm so bad at it, but I really enjoy it. It's super chill. You can find me at Jessie Bear Books, and it's literally just me playing Neverwinter Nights and The Sims and Jurassic World, because I love all of those games. So until next time guys, bye!